Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us at the Lebanese American Chamber of Commerce, please join me in warmly welcoming the person we never knew we needed, but we are now blessed to have. One very cool nerd. And our keynote speaker for this evening, the Governor of this great state of Michigan, Rick Snyder.
Governor, that was wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And it's an honor to be here tonight. And I really appreciate the Lebanese American Chamber of Commerce for having an event like this, a gala to celebrate. Because we need to celebrate. And there is so much to celebrate. And I want to say congratulations to our honorees. It's an honor to have you here in our state. And we're proud to have you and have an opportunity to say thank you for what you've contributed to our society. What I'd like to start with is give you a perspective. I really appreciate Paul W. talking about his heritage. I have no Lebanese blood. And to give you a little history, I grew up in Battle Creek. I didn't know the music was that good in Battle Creek, but I grew up in a small house in Battle Creek. I had wonderful parents, but I grew up in a 900 square foot house. And we didn't have a lot of opportunity. I had never gotten a chance to see a Tiger ball game or actually come to Detroit. And as a practical matter, to give you a perspective about kind of the sheltered life I lived, you might find some humor in this, is it wasn't until I had a girlfriend in college that I had actually the opportunity to even eat lamb. Now, coming from a place like that makes me really appreciate how wonderful an event like this is. Because it's really about dissolving boundaries, about recognizing the power of America, which is about people coming together. After I had that college experience, though, I had an absolutely wonderful experience that introduced me to Lebanese culture. I happened to go to work for Cooper's Library in Detroit. And one of my best friends that I met was a gentleman named Matt Rizik, a good Lebanese boy. And so Matt took me out to lunch one day in Detroit. And this was back in 1982. And we walked from the Rensen and we walked in this restaurant. And as soon as we walked in this restaurant, I was part of a family. Because the owners of this restaurant came up and gave me huge hugs and kisses just because I was with Matt. And that restaurant, some of you may very well recall, was the Chic. And it was Esther and Janet coming up to say welcome. That by coming to our place, coming into our restaurant, coming into our home, you are part of our family. And that's something that stayed with me my entire life, to recognize the power of bringing people together in the spirit of the Lebanese people. Now, Matt continues to be one of my best friends. Just to show the power of family in the Lebanese community is actually, we stayed best friends, but I became partner with his brother, Chris, for over a dozen years, who continues to be another one of my best friends. And it's amazing to see the bonds and relationships you can build with such a wonderful community. And so part of the issue that I wanted to cover tonight is how do you take that spirit that I was able to do on an individual level because of the fabulous outpouring of caring and concern by wonderful people, and how do you translate that to an entire state? Because we should make it translatable. That's really our future. Because if you look at it, we need an environment where we continue to dissolve as many boundaries as possible. Too often today, we live in a world of divisiveness, where people look at each other and talk about how they're different, and spend way too much time fighting about those differences. The power of an event like this is it sends the message, we're in this together. And we need to find that common ground. And I'm proud to say in the context of Michigan, we're embracing it. One of the things that's critically important to our future is something I call global Michigan, is to actually say, how do we embrace as many different groups as possible? Find that common ground opportunity. And in particular, one thing we're encouraging, and I believe I'm the most pro-immigration oriented governor in the country, is how do we, thank you. How do we actually encourage people to migrate to our country and state? Because that's what's made us great, if you look at our history. And one reminder I like to give people, because we take it for granted too often, about our immigrant heritage and where we all came from, is I'll mention 2 or 3 names to you. And you'll go, well, those are Michigan companies. So if I say the word Dow, if I say the word Meyer, if I say the word Masco, I could go around this room and many, many people would recognize those names and say, those are Michigan companies. And they are. But Dow was founded by a Canadian immigrant. Myers was founded by a Dutch immigrant. Masco was founded by an Armenian immigrant. But they became ours also, to show the power of bringing people together and realizing that power. And if you want to look at the reinvention of Michigan, which we are focused on, the need for more and better jobs, the need to keep our kids here, one of the critical points we can do is be that role model for the rest of our country. To say, we already have so many kids coming here to get a great education, to get an advanced degree. And yet we have a culture that says you have to leave once we've educated you, once we've gotten you excited about living in our city or our state. You have to leave. Isn't that backward? We should be saying, join us. Because that's, in many cases, where the best entrepreneurial spirit comes from. It's interesting. If you look at a place like Silicon Valley, which is held out now as the innovation capital of the world, about 50% of the companies created in Silicon Valley have a foreign national as a founder. And if you look back in our history, what was the bigger innovation capital of the world in the last century? It was much bigger than Silicon Valley. It was right here. It was Detroit. Now our challenge is to bring that spirit back. We were so successful, we got too complacent and just sort of went on autopilot to say, how do we keep this good thing going, rather than recognizing we needed to reinvent ourselves. And that's our opportunity today. And that's why it's exciting to be with you, because I know in this community, and I met so many people tonight, that you have that entrepreneurial spirit, that entrepreneurial fire. To say it's about innovating, bringing new ideas, and bringing people together. So that's one of the critical things that we should be celebrating. And that's why this is a wonderful gala. Because it is about bringing people together to say, we had a different background. Now we became part of this community. And by bringing those things together, we're more powerful and successful. And we're better people for it. And so in many respects, one of the messages we need to take, and the call to action I give you tonight, is don't be passive about events like this. Don't go home tonight or tomorrow when you meet someone and they say, how was that gala last night? Do not say, it was a nice gala. You're too passionate for that. I hope you come, when that question comes up, you come out of your shell and say, that was a great gala, because it's an opportunity to celebrate the wonderful things we are doing and the wonderful places we're going, because we as Michiganders are going to set a role model for the rest of the country and the world. And we're going to do that by bringing a new spirit, the spirit you feel in this room. It's not about being negative. It's not about being divisive. It's not about looking in the rearview mirror. It's about a new culture. It's about being positive. You can feel the positive energy in this room. It's about being forward-looking, to say, think about all your parents and all your activities. How much of that is geared towards the backward world, or how much is geared to say you want a better world for your children? You're forward-looking. And then think about not divisiveness, but inclusiveness. That our future, our solution is not arguing about how we're different, but recognizing how we're alike, what is our common ground, and how we can win together. And my personal philosophy, and Paul W. has heard this far too often, is a simple motto: relentless positive action. The way we've operated, the way we've shown success at the state level is following that philosophy, which says we're here to solve problems. We are here to take on the challenges that have been the tough challenges. The challenges people have walked away from, we will not walk away from them. We will solve them. And we will do it in a relentless fashion. And as part of doing that, we will blame no one. We will take credit for nothing, because negative energy has no value. Credit has no value. It's all about progress. And by doing that, that's where we'll create opportunity for those kids in terms of jobs, a bright future, and careers that we all want them to see. So please take that philosophy as your call to action tonight. So when people ask you tomorrow, how was it? Tell them it was a relentless positive action evening, not a nice evening. But one other important thing I want to share with you. It's not just about jobs, and it's just not about economic activity. And that's one thing I've also learned from my great interactions with my good friends and learning from the Lebanese community. Because the Lebanese community is much more than a community of just commerce, very successful at that, and truly to be admired in entrepreneurship and innovation. It's also a culture of family, and very close family. As I saw from Esther and Janet, from my first interactions of walking in their restaurant with Matt, to actually looking at my friends, the Reisig family. There were 6 kids. The mother and father raised 6 wonderful kids. And they didn't have as much as they wanted their kids to have. So every one of those children became a professional, because that was part of family. And when I still see any of the family members, I can tell you the first thing that will happen. Even before I get a chance to say hello, there's a hug. And that's something to be admired. Because in today's world, too often people just walk up to each other and say, this is what I want, or this is what I need, rather than saying, this is how I care about you. And now let's talk about how we can succeed together. And that's something I look to the Lebanese community to be our role models and leaders in terms of bringing 10 million Michiganders together to say, we had success at the early part of the last century. It was fabulous success. But then between our parents and us, we took that for granted. And the world changed and we didn't. But now it's time to turn that around, to say, as Michiganders, here's the common ground. Here's how we're standing together, not just as business partners, but as family. And to say we're bringing that common ground together, to say it is our reinvention, to say we can show there are ways that we can succeed together, win together, watch our kids grow up together, and be a role model for the rest of the country and the world. So as you go through this gala tonight, as you go through this celebration tonight, say thank you to the honorees, but also say thank you to everyone at your table and everyone here in your family, because you're at the core of an opportunity that only comes once in a lifetime. And my challenge is to you is to embrace it, grab it, and we will reinvent Michigan. Thank you so much.
Governor Rick Snyder, ladies and gentlemen.